This year, 2026, is for you. It's time to make yourself the main project, the masterpiece you've been overlooking. Let that sink into your soul. For too long, many of us have poured all our energy into fixing things outside ourselves. People, problems, relationships, and situations we didn't even create, along with emotions that weren't even ours to carry. We were raised to believe that love demands sacrifice, that loyalty means losing ourselves to prove something to someone else, and that being good means always putting ourselves last. While there might have been times when that felt noble, 2026 is inviting us into a higher truth. You can no longer ignore your own needs while trying to be everything for everyone else. You can't keep delaying your growth, your goals, your healing, or your boundaries just to make someone else feel more comfortable. This year, focusing on yourself isn't selfish. It's absolutely necessary. You're not abandoning anyone. You're simply returning to yourself. Stop comparing yourself to others' person. Female, when you turn your gaze inward, something powerful begins to shift. You stop asking, "How do I make them see me?" And instead, you start asking, "How do I see me?" You'll begin investing in your mental clarity and stop shrinking your dreams to fit someone else's insecurities. You'll start cleaning up your inner world, your thoughts, your beliefs, your habits, not to become perfect or to check off boxes, but because you finally recognize that you matter. You matter outside of your role, outside of your work, outside of what you do for others. You matter simply because you exist, and that's reason enough to give yourself care, time, and attention. In this season of your life, you're no longer in the business of overgiving. You're not a savior. You're not a martyr. You are a person worthy of healing, worthy of growth, and worthy of being your own priority. It won't be easy. When you've been conditioned to abandon yourself, choosing yourself can feel like a betrayal. If your identity has been built around being needed, not being needed might feel like rejection. But stay the course, because what you'll discover is that the real you, the one beneath the people, pleasing, the proving, and the perfectionism, is deeply wise and already whole. This year, instead of asking, "How do I make them happy?" ask, "What does my soul need today?" Maybe it's rest. Maybe it's creating something. Maybe it's finally going to therapy, journaling more, or drinking more water. Maybe it's dreaming again. Maybe it's letting go of something you've been clinging to for too long. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to outgrow who you once were. You are allowed to stop saving others and start saving yourself. Remember, you are not a machine. You're a spirit having a human experience. And every part of you, the tired parts, the confused parts, the ambitious parts, the joyful parts, all deserve to be seen and nurtured. So let 2026 be the year you stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect timing. Stop waiting for others to show up for you the way you've shown up for them. This is the year you start showing up for yourself like you truly mean it. And when you do, when you put your energy where your heart is, you'll begin to notice something profound. Life will meet you where you are. Opportunities will align. Peace will find its way to your doorstep. And most of all, you'll finally feel at home within yourself. Because in 2026, you are no longer on the sidelines of your own life. You are the project. You are the masterpiece. And you are worth the focus. The power of focusing inward. We've all been taught to chase something outside of ourselves. A better job, more followers, a bigger house, a prestigious title, constant applause. Somewhere along the way, we started to believe that these things defined us, that the louder the world clapped, the more valuable we were. But what happens when the clapping stops? What happens in the quiet when no one's watching, no one's validating, and no one's telling you that you're enough? 2026 invites a radical shift in how we measure success. Not by how busy your calendar looks or how many people approve of you, but by how deeply you know yourself and how at peace you feel when the noise fades. Inner peace is the new success, and it's the kind that doesn't need to be posted, praised, or proven. The truth is, you can't fake inner peace. You can fake confidence. You can fake happiness on social media. You can even fake being fine in a crowded room. But peace, that can't be staged. That's an inside job. And it begins when you stop looking for wholeness in people, outcomes, or expectations. It begins when you understand that peace isn't something you find. It's something you build, moment by moment, choice by choice. Some days it looks like choosing rest instead of burnout. Some days it looks like saying no without guilt. Other days, it's as simple as choosing not to respond to chaos. It's protecting your morning routine. It's walking away from drama without explaining yourself. It's turning off the noise of comparison because you finally realize that you don't need to run anyone else's race. You see, peace isn't passive, it's powerful. It's not about avoiding life's challenges. It's about meeting them from a grounded, centered place. It's not about pretending nothing bothers you. It's about being so anchored in your values that you're not shaken by every storm. And to cultivate that kind of peace, you must stop waiting for others to give it to you. Peace doesn't arrive through someone's approval or love. It arrives when you start showing up for yourself consistently, even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching. Growth requires solitude, not applause. Here's another truth we don't say enough. Growth requires solitude, not applause. You don't need an audience to transform. You don't need validation to evolve. You don't need to be seen to do the work that changes your life. Some of the most profound breakthroughs will come in quiet moments, when you're journaling alone, crying alone, reflecting alone, when you're not performing, when you're not trying to impress, when you finally let yourself feel. In this culture of constant visibility, it's easy to think your progress has to be public to be real. But your transformation does not need to be a performance. Sometimes the most powerful growth is invisible to the world. And that's okay. What matters is that you know the work you're doing. You feel the shift. You trust the path, even if no one else claps for it. So in 2026, give yourself the gift of quiet progress. Protect your peace like your life depends on it, because it does. And don't be afraid to disappear for a while if it means finding yourself again. This year isn't about being seen. It's about being centered. It's about building a life you don't need to escape from and a soul you can come home to. Let that be your success story. Learn to say no without guilt. No is a complete sentence, and in 2026, it's a sacred one. We've all been there, saying yes when we really wanted to say no, smiling through discomfort, overcommitting, overextending, over-explaining. Somewhere along the line, many of us were taught that our worth was tied to how much we could give, how much we could tolerate, how much we could bend. While there's grace in being generous, 2026 is not about stretching yourself thin for the comfort of others. It's about drawing a line that protects your energy, your time, and your peace. Boundaries aren't walls. They are bridges to self-respect. They are not about keeping people out, but about letting the right people in, the ones who see you, respect you, and meet you where you are. In a world that constantly demands more of you, saying no isn't rude. It's revolutionary. It's declaring that your needs matter. It's choosing alignment over approval. For far too long, we've been applauded for being selfless, for saying yes, for doing it all without complaint. But what if the real courage is in saying no? What if the real strength lies in being honest about what you can handle and what you can't? What if protecting your peace is the most generous thing you can do, not just for you, but for everyone around you? In 2026, the focus is not on being available to everyone. It's about being fully available to yourself. And that means understanding that every yes you give away without thought is a no to something you might need deeply: rest, clarity, reflection, healing. So, it's time to stop feeling guilty for choosing yourself. It's time to stop explaining your boundaries like they're apologies. Your worth is not measured by how little you demand or how much you endure. When you set a boundary, you're not pushing people away. You're drawing a map to your values. You're saying, "This is where I end and you begin." You're telling the world that you will no longer betray yourself just to be liked. And yes, at first it might feel uncomfortable. People may resist the new version of you who speaks up, who pauses before saying yes, who no longer says, "I'm fine," when you're not. But over time, the discomfort fades, and what takes its place is a quiet, unshakable power, the power of self-honor. The more you practice boundaries, the more you realize they're not barriers, they're gateways. They allow you to show up more fully and authentically in the spaces that matter. They give you room to grow, space to breathe, and clarity to choose. Because when you stop running on empty, you start creating from overflow. You stop managing chaos and start designing your life with intention. And here's what's beautiful. When you honor your boundaries, you inspire others to do the same. You model what it looks like to live with integrity. You give people permission to protect their own peace. In that way, your boundary is not just a gift to you, it's a ripple effect. So, let this be the year you release the need to explain yourself. Let this be the year you let your no be clear, kind, and final. Let this be the year you honor the space between what you've been taught to tolerate and what you actually deserve. Because in 2026, you're not just focusing on yourself. You're choosing to live in truth, and that begins with a boundary. Cutting off negative energy, Sisters, you don't need applause to grow. Sometimes the real transformation happens in silence. In a world where everything is broadcasted, every win, every meal, every moment, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that growth must be seen to be real. That if no one is watching, if no one is liking, if no one is clapping, then maybe it doesn't count. But 2026 reminds us of a deeper truth. Some of the most powerful changes you will ever go through will happen in complete stillness, without an audience, without a performance, and without external recognition. There's something sacred about the quiet seasons, the moments when you retreat, not because you're lost, but because you're finally listening to yourself. When you stop explaining and start reflecting. When the phone goes silent and you learn to sit with your own breath. That space, the solitude, isn't a punishment. It's preparation. It's healing. It's transformation happening on a cellular level. This year, you don't need to prove your growth to anyone. You don't need to capture it in a perfect caption or turn it into content. You don't need to announce your boundaries or your breakthroughs. You just need to live them. Let the work be real, even if it's invisible. Especially if it's invisible. Growth is messy. It's nonlinear. It's not always photogenic. Some days it looks like crying on the kitchen floor. Some days it's forgiving yourself for past versions of who you had to be just to survive. Some days it's doing the small things like saying no, taking a walk, or sitting in silence that no one else may ever know about. And yet, those are the moments that shape you, that stretch you, that wake you up. In 2026, you don't need to chase attention. You need to chase alignment. You don't need the stage. You need the stillness. You don't need the noise of the crowd. You need the whisper of your own soul saying, "Keep going. You're doing the work." And even when it's hard, even when no one acknowledges your effort, know this. Your evolution is not a group project. It's personal, it's sacred, and it belongs to you. Give yourself permission to go off the grid if you need to stop performing healing and start living it. Sometimes the most revolutionary thing you can do is to grow quietly, deeply, and honestly. Not for validation, not for likes, but for your own liberation. And here's what's beautiful. You will emerge not louder, but clearer. Not more polished, but more grounded. Not perfect, but whole. And when that moment comes, you won't need to explain your transformation. You'll embody it. People will feel it in your presence, in your peace, in your power. They won't need a backstory. They'll just know something in you has shifted. So let this be the year you stop chasing approval. Let this be the year you trust the slow, unsexy, invisible work. Because the truth is, the strongest roots grow underground, hidden from the eye, and when the time is right, that quiet work will speak for itself without a single word. Final thoughts. Trust the process. You already have everything you need inside of you. You just have to believe it deeply enough to act on it. For so long, we've been conditioned to look outward for answers. We're taught to chase advice, opinions, formulas, believing that someone out there knows better than we do. That someone has the blueprint to our life, our healing, our happiness. But 2026 is not the year for outsourcing your power. It's the year to return to yourself, to quiet the noise, and finally hear the voice that's been whispering inside you all along. Because the truth is, deep down, you already know. You know when something feels right. You know when your spirit is unsettled. You know when it's time to stay and when it's time to go. You know what brings you joy, what drains your energy, what excites your soul. The problem is never your intuition. It's that you've been taught to doubt it, conditioned to second guess it, programmed to override it in favor of what's safe, what's acceptable, or what looks good on the outside. But in 2026, that ends. This is the year you stop seeking permission to trust yourself. This is the year you choose to believe that the inner voice guiding you is not a fluke. It's wisdom. Real, powerful, ancient wisdom that's been trying to lead you all along. When you realize that your best life is an inside job, everything shifts. You stop waiting for a relationship to complete you, a job to validate you, or a situation to save you. You understand that nothing outside of you can fill what only alignment within you can satisfy. And so the work becomes internal, not glamorous, not instant, but real. You begin to rebuild your relationship with yourself. That starts with listening, listening to your gut, to your body, to your needs. When you're tired, rest. When your heart aches, grieve. When inspiration strikes, move. You are allowed to be led by what feels true, not just what makes sense to everyone else. And then, slowly, you start acting from that truth, not perfectly, but consistently. You speak up when something feels off. You walk away when your peace is at risk. You dream bigger without shrinking to make others comfortable. You start showing up for yourself the way you've always shown up for everyone else. And in doing so, you realize something extraordinary. You were never broken. You were just buried under fear, expectations, and years of putting yourself last. Now that excavation begins not to find something new, but to uncover what's always been there. You learn that confidence isn't found in achievement. It's found in self-trust. That clarity isn't about knowing every step. It's about being honest about the next one. That freedom doesn't come from having control. It comes from being aligned with who you really are. You stop waiting for the world to crown you. You place the crown on your own head and move accordingly. This kind of transformation doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't need applause. It just needs commitment. A commitment to choosing yourself over and over, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. So in 2026, the journey is inward. The power is already within you. The answers are already within you. The next level of your life is not about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you've always been and choosing to live from that truth unapologetically. Stop outsourcing your worth in 2026. Your focus is to trust your inner voice, invest in your joy, and live from a place of alignment, not comparison. We live in a world that tells us who to be before we even know who we are. From the moment we wake up, we're flooded with images of success, beauty, and belonging. And without realizing it, we start measuring ourselves by other people's lives. We scroll through highlight reels, compare timelines, and wonder, am I enough? Am I behind? Am I doing it right? But 2026 is the year to step off that carousel of comparison, to stop looking outward and start going inward. Because the truth is, your life was never meant to look like anyone else's. Your purpose, your timing, your journey, it's yours alone. And the more you compare, the more you disconnect from your own truth. You start chasing what they have instead of honoring what you already carry. You try to keep up, to match their pace, their style, their story. But all that running does is exhaust you. It pulls you away from the peace you're trying to build. It distracts you from the joy that was always within reach. So in 2026, you're not running anymore. You're rooting into your values, your vision, your voice. Rooting into the kind of life that feels good, not just one that looks good on the outside. You stop asking, what are they doing? And start asking, what feels right for me? That's alignment. That's power. This kind of living requires honesty, not just with the world, but with yourself. It means getting real about what you've been tolerating, what you've been chasing for the wrong reasons, what you've been pretending to want just to fit in. And when you strip all that away, when you let go of what no longer belongs, you make space for what actually lights you up. Maybe it's simplicity, maybe it's creativity, maybe it's rest, maybe it's starting something new or walking away from something that no longer reflects who you are. Whatever it is, it begins with tuning back into your own voice, not the loud one filled with doubt or fear, but the quiet, grounded one that says, "This is me, and this is what I need." Investing in your joy means choosing practices, people, and paths that bring you to life, not drain you. It means protecting your energy like it's your most valuable currency, because it is. It means doing things that may not make sense to anyone else, but make perfect sense to your soul. Joy is not frivolous, it's not optional, it's essential. And in 2026, joy becomes your compass, not pressure, not performance, not perfection, just joy. The kind that reminds you you're alive, that your life matters, that you don't have to wait to feel free. So you stop outsourcing your worth to how many people approve of you. You stop giving other people the power to decide if you're lovable, capable, or enough. You claim that power back. You look in the mirror and say, I choose me. I trust me. I am enough right now as I am. And when you live from that place, the outside noise fades. The comparisons lose their grip. The pressure softens because you're no longer trying to prove something. You're simply being it, being full, being whole, being yourself. That's what 2026 is about. Not becoming someone else, just becoming more of who you truly are.